All right, good afternoon, and thank you for joining today's Learn and Share conference call. I'm Russ Derry, Director of Education for Epilepsy Foundation of Michigan, and I'll be moderating this discussion. The topic for today is Social Security disability benefits, getting on and off, and we're pleased to have as our speaker Takia Hagebook, Public Affairs Specialist with the Social Security Administration. So, Takia, could you briefly introduce yourself, talk a little bit about the work you do, and describe your experience with this topic?
Yes, Russ. Thank you so much. As Russ stated, I am the Public Affairs Specialist for the Social Security Administration here in Southeastern Michigan. What I do is talk to the public about Social Security's benefits and programs, the different ways that you qualify, the work incentives, things that we're talking about today. So my job is to get the information about Social Security to the public itself. I've actually worked with the agency as of April. It has been 12 years, and I've had a variety of positions, including a claims specialist who you would see when you go into the office to file, a technical expert, office support specialist, management support specialist, et cetera. So I do have quite a bit of familiarity with the Social Security disability benefit. Thank you.
Okay, great. So can you start by describing the intended purpose of Social Security disability benefits and how the purpose of these benefits has changed over the years, if at all?
Sure. The intended purpose of Social Security disability benefits were for individuals who were working and paying into the Social Security system. If they became disabled and unable to work due to a physical and or a mental impairment, there would be a supplemental program that would be able to provide them with that would supplement their income. That was the intended purpose when Social Security disability was founded. But how the benefit has changed throughout the years is that Social Security benefits were never intended to be 100% of someone's income. But over the years, that's exactly what has happened with Social Security retirement as well as disability benefits. So that is one thing that has definitely changed with its intended purpose, although when it was started, it was intended to be a supplement to income, maybe not as long-term as it has become over the years.
Got it. Okay. So what are the key differences in terms of eligibility and benefits between Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, and Supplemental Security Income, or SSI?
Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, are benefits that are based on your work and earnings. So individuals who have been working and earning a certain amount are paying Social Security taxes on that income. So if they become disabled and unable to work, they could then file for that income. So that is under the Social Security Disability Insurance Program. And with that program, 2 years after an individual has been on Social Security Disability Insurance, they would be eligible for Medicare benefits at that time. So again, it is 24 months after an individual has been receiving Social Security Disability Insurance. That program comes with that Medicare. Now, SSI, or Supplemental Security Income, is a lot different, as that program is needs-based. So an individual may be disabled. They also have to have a financial need. So that is what Social Security or Supplemental Security Income looks at. They look at an individual's disabling conditions, their age, as well as their income and resources. So under the SSI program, a child that has a disability may be eligible for SSI benefits, but they would then be looking at the parent's income and resources as well, because that is a child and they don't have any income or resources. So that is how the SSI program works with the children and their disabilities. Also, with SSI, an individual would be eligible for Medicaid. So if they receive SSI benefits, they are eligible for the state of Michigan insurance program, which is Medicaid. So those are the two Social Security disability programs and those two health insurance benefits that come along with them.
Okay, and is there a delay in terms of Medicaid eligibility with SSI like there is with Medicare and SSDI, or is that immediate?
No, it's not the same 24-month delay. The Medicaid would be, that person will be eligible for their Medicaid once they're eligible for their SSI.
Got it. And do both programs use the same definition for disability in terms of eligibility?
They do. Both programs do. For the adult disability definition, there are different, it's different criteria for children than it is for adults. So yes, for the adult definition, they do utilize both, both programs do utilize that definition. Okay.
And then in terms of benefits, the differences between the two programs, for SSDI, that your benefits are based on how much you've paid into the system and basically how many years you've worked, whereas with SSI, it's based largely on need or income. Is that a correct characterization?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, got it. So what family members may be eligible for benefits under each program?
Under the SSI program, there are no family benefits. So because that is a needs-based program, there are, again, no family benefits involved in that because there is no insurance program that it falls under for family benefits to be under that program. But under SSDI, family members could be eligible for benefits as well if, let's say, there is a parent who is receiving SSDI benefits, then a child may be eligible to receive benefits from that parent's record as well. A spouse may be eligible to receive benefits from that record as well as the children. It all depends on the amount of income or the amount of that person has paid into the Social Security system for us to be able to see how much each family member could be eligible for.
Okay. So I know this is outside of your jurisdiction, but can you briefly explain state disability assistance and how, if at all, that relates to Social Security disability benefits?
Sure. State disability assistance provides cash to eligible disabled adults, and for someone, if you are the caretaker of a disabled person or a person that's 65 or older, they may qualify for state disability assistance. State disability assistance is different than Social Security disability, as there are different requirements for state disability than there are for Social Security disability and SSI. But if an individual does file for state disability assistance, they are required to file a disability application with the Social Security Administration, either SSI or SSDI or both. That is the correlation between the two. Okay.
So essentially it's an additional benefit on top of Social Security benefits that people may or may not be eligible for, essentially.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's probably something people who are currently on SSI or SSDI who haven't looked into state disability assistance might at least want to go to the website and see, they might be eligible.
Yes, they have the eligibility criteria listed directly on the state of Michigan's website, and it does have the information listed on income for Social Security benefits, SSI, or veterans benefits, it has that information listed. So it, again, shows you that correlation between the two benefits itself.
Got it. Okay. So how does the Social Security Administration define disability?
This is probably one of my favorite definitions to give out to everyone. Social Security's definition of disability is a lot different than a lot of companies or private employers, because Social Security does not separate a disability into short-term or long-term. So there are no short-term disability benefits with us, nor do we categorize it as a long-term benefit. For Social Security purposes, a disabling condition must last at least 12 months or longer or result in someone's death. That is what Social Security is looking at in regards to disability. So, again, what that actual definition of Social Security disability would be, we are looking at if your medical condition lasts 12 months or longer or results in your death, and it keeps you from working and earning a substantial gainful amount, which this year is $1,260 gross per month. So that is where your Social Security is looking at for that disability definition.
Okay. So can you walk us through the 5 disability determination steps?
Yes, I can. So when someone files for their Social Security disability and SSI, those, when I say that, I'm talking about both of those applications itself. We are looking at or looking for certain things. So if you are going to file online, it is a very easy 4-step process. And from the time period that we receive that application, if we have to contact you back to get any information, then we would then contact you from the information that you listed on the application. Hang on 1 second for me, please. So what Social Security is looking for is, 1, are you working? So if you are working in 2020 and your earnings average more than, again, $1,260 a month, then we cannot consider you disabled and unable to work. If you are not working, or if you are working and earning under that amount, then we will take that application, transfer it to the Disability Determination Services office, and then they will make that medical decision regarding your medical condition. The Disability Determination Services uses the next step to make their determination. They say, is your condition severe? Your condition must significantly limit your ability to do basic work such as lifting, standing, walking, sitting, and remembering for at least 12 months. If it does not, we will find that you are not disabled. If your condition does interfere with your basic work, then we will move on to step 3, which is seeing if your condition is found in our list of disabling conditions. The list of our disabling conditions can be found on our website, and it is listed by major body systems that we consider so severe that it prevents a person from completing substantial gainful activity. If your condition is not on the list, we have to decide if it is severe enough as a medical condition that is on that list. If it is, and we find that you are disabled. If not, then we go to our 4th step, where we see if you can do the work that you were previously doing. So we decide if your medical impairments prevent you from performing any of your past work. If it doesn't, then we'll decide that you do not have a qualifying disability. If that medical impairment prevents you from performing any of your past work, then we will see is there any other type of work that you can do. We consider your medical conditions and your age, education, past work experience, and any transferable skills that you may have. If you can't do other work, we'll decide you are disabled. If you can do other work, we'll decide that you don't have a qualifying disability and your claim will be denied. So those are the 5 steps that we utilize when making that decision.
Okay. And do you have the current listings for epilepsy? And can you kind of quickly outline what those involve?
Yes. Again, all of these are available on our website.
Mm-hmm.
So for an adult, epilepsy is listed under our neurological disorders and impairments, and that epilepsy must be documented with a detailed description of a typical seizure, and then it gives the listing of different types of seizures. So a generalized tonic-clonic seizure, or a dyscognitive seizure, or a generalized tonic-clonic seizure, and it goes through each step at that point to tell you what we would accept through that listing. So it has everything, and then there's also a listing for children as well, and it's under the same impairment, and it gives it does go into a different, it's not as detailed as the adult. So it just gives 2 different options under the epilepsy for children.
Right. And it's based basically on seizure frequency for different seizure types, right?
Yes, for children.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say, and adults as well once you get into the details on those.
Right. Right. And just for those who aren't familiar with the old terminology, dyscognitive seizure refers to what's now called a focal impaired awareness seizure. So that's a seizure that doesn't involve the jerking or the convulsive movements of a tonic-clonic seizure, but does affect awareness, and that would understandably potentially interfere with work. So for some people with
to make
epilepsy,
sure we get that changed in our systems, Russ.
and this cognitive is a pretty old term. I think that precedes even complex partial, which is an older term, but it's still pretty widely used. The newest term is focal impaired awareness, but this cognitive, I think, is. Well, actually, you know what? There's been so many different classifications. This cognitive may have come after complex partial had a brief moment in the spotlight, and then it's been changed to focal impaired awareness. But it takes a while. Even a lot of doctors are still using the old terminology. So, okay. So for some people with epilepsy, seizures alone might not be enough to prevent them from maintaining employment. But if you add medication side effects, cognitive difficulties, depression, and other associated conditions or symptoms, work can become a challenge. So how might someone qualify for benefits if no single condition meets the criteria for disability, but the cumulative impact of multiple conditions or symptoms prevents them from maintaining substantial gainful activity?
So when an individual files, we ask for all conditions that limit their ability to work. So while my epilepsy may limit my ability to work, but it does not limit me so much that I would fall under my substantial gainful amount until I start to add in those other conditions or impairments. So if I am depressed, or if I have anxiety, or panic attacks, or if the medication is causing certain side effects, and now that is what I have as well, those are now listed on the application too. So I'm going to say, yes, I have epilepsy, but I also suffer from depression. I also suffer from anxiety. When I list my medications on the application itself, it will ask, are there any side effects to me taking this medication? So we want to make sure that we add that information in. So it is very imperative that when a person completes their application, they are telling us about all of the conditions that they have, as well as the medications that they're taking, whatever side effects they're having from that as well.
Right. And presumably then the medical documentation is needed to substantiate all of those different symptoms and conditions as well.
Yes. And I mean, I know we'll get into that information in another question. So I was going to say I'll save my answer for that one, Russ.
Okay, great. So can you describe what's involved in the application process and also the appeal process, and then also how long each step typically takes?
Yes. When an individual files for disability benefits with us, the application itself online is normally a 4-step process. So you are going to file the application itself, and then what you're going to do is start after the application is completed. It will take you to another step, which is the online work and education report. So we need information, your medical history information goes there in that application. It takes quite a bit of time to input that application or that information on the application, depending on how much information you have. So we're looking for, again, all of your medical impairments, anything that is keeping you from working. We are looking for your actual work history for the last 15 years. We are looking for your your employment information, your education, so any college, technical degrees, anything as well. From that will be input. So it can take, if you are doing it from start to finish, I normally say it can take about 2 hours or up to 2 hours, depending on how much information someone is inputting. From there, our disability application, again, is sent to our Disability Determination Services office, where they can take anywhere from 3 to 4 months to make an initial determination. Next, from there, depending on how long or depending on what that application is approved or denied, if it is denied, you have the 60 seconds to file or what we call appeal that decision. If you do, you would then go to what we call the reconsideration process, which your case is then sent back to the DES again, and they will then make a decision if the decision that they made before was correct or not. From there, if it is denied, you then have the right to file for a hearing, which would then be before an administrative judge. The hearings process can take anywhere up to 2 years to see a judge on that hearing appeal. So that is normally about how long each step takes. With the reconsideration process, it can take, again, anywhere from 60 to 120 days for them to make that decision on the reconsideration as well.
Okay. And you mentioned online application. Are presumably there are other ways to apply as well?
Yes, Russ. Before this, we used to be able to take applications in our office. But right now, everything we are doing is either by phone, so you can still call and make an appointment with your local office, and they can take the applications by phone, or you can, of course, go to our website to file for those benefits.
Great. And I imagine for someone maybe who has limited education or maybe some cognitive disabilities, that perhaps being able to do that with someone over the phone might be, an easier option than trying to do it online by themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So what are some of the most common mistakes that prevent someone who should qualify from being from actually being approved?
as I was stating earlier, one of the most common mistakes is not giving us all the information in regards to your condition. So although we can say, your main condition would be epilepsy, but not telling us about any of the side effects from the medications that you're taking or other impairments you may be suffering from because of the epilepsy itself. So that is probably the most common mistake that someone makes when they are completing their application. Also, I know when it does request or when DDS requests that medical information, we want to make sure that we are sending in that paperwork that DDS is requesting. So that is very important as well because they are making that determination on that medical impairment itself. So if they send out any information during the course of that application, you want to make sure it's completed and sent back timely.
Okay. And so what exact, I guess, typically what type of information would be required from a neurologist, for example? Is it going to be a letter? Is there going to be a form that they need to fill out? I guess what specifically are the types of things that for someone with epilepsy, for example, that a neurologist would have to provide, along with the application?
So once we get that application from the client and they list their medical sources where they've been going, there are forms that are sent depending on, again, each disability itself and the type of doctor that they're going to. So while the neurologist itself may get a functioning form for their client, then if they are also listing anxiety and depression, then let's say their psychiatrist would get a different type of form. But normally they are forms that they need to complete with very thorough information. Like I said, it's normally what they call a functioning report that the DDS sends out to those doctors. Now, when those doctors are completing it, sometimes they may send the form back that says, when Russ came into the office last time, he said he felt fine. And that is what, that doctor is completing and sending back. But again, they want to make sure that they're being very thorough when they're completing their forms as well and returning those to the DDS. Okay,
so I guess that's an important point, is that it sounds like the neurologists are sending those forms directly back to Social Security rather than back to the person who's applying.
That is correct. So the DDS will send forms for the client itself to complete and send back, as well as the medical sources have to complete and send back to them.
Right. So that kind of points to, if you're going to apply, it might be smart to talk with your neurologist beforehand if you know that they're going to need to complete forms to make sure that they are highlighting all of the disabilities that you are. So, because I would imagine that sometimes a neurologist, particularly if strapped for time or something, may just forget to highlight a certain thing like, oh yeah, he's really struggles with this side effect or has pretty severe memory problems, and may be less likely to mention that if they're, in a rush or if they're have a heavy patient load or that type of thing. So is that something you would advise to kind of consult with your healthcare team prior to applying, just to make sure that you're on the same page as far as what you're illustrating through the application in terms of your disabilities?
Yes, I would definitely talk to my medical team in regards to that. Just to let them know that, yes, 9 times out of 10, or probably 9.9 times out of 10, an individual has already spoken with, their primary doctor, or, in this case, they would probably have spoken with their neurologist, and they've had a work discussion prior to, so they would be aware that this person would more than likely need to file for benefits itself.
Okay, great. So do you find that using a disability benefits lawyer or advocate generally helps to increase the likelihood of approval?
Personally, no.
Okay.
I don't believe that utilizing a benefit lawyer is necessary. It doesn't increase, and I want to make that clear. That's not personal, but utilizing a lawyer or any type of advocate does not increase one's chance of approval on a disability claim. Everyone is still graded on the same criteria. So just because an individual does have an attorney present, we do not change that information. It doesn't change anything on there. But an attorney or an advocate can be very good for an individual, especially if they do have some type of impairments that keep them from filing, because normally those are the people that are filing the application for that individual. So if they do an interview with a client and then they're taking that information and actually filing the application for that person, that's normally what a disability benefit lawyer or advocate could do for them.
Okay. So perhaps those who might have trouble filling out the application on their own, particularly, people with executive function disorders where they maybe have a hard time being organized or prioritizing or sequencing or paying attention to detail on those types of things, and they don't have a support person or caregiver who can help them apply, then that might be a role for an advocate or lawyer to assist.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Social Security Administration has a very thorough website, a toll-free phone number, and local offices. So I guess let's talk about imagining that we weren't in the COVID crisis. Can you characterize kind of the level of individual support or individualized support that people can get through SSI in applying for disability benefits? Are there any lesser known resources through SSA that people might find helpful in this process of applying?
Yes, there actually are. I'm quite sure. Normally when we are promoting our online services, we love to tell everyone about retirement and our retirement benefits planner. But there is also a disability benefits planner as well. And that disability benefits planner is really good. Again, not a lot of people use it, but it does give you quite a bit of information as well as special situations that you may have. So just going to that, again, the page would be the benefits planner, and then it has a disability benefit planner page. So it goes over what information you would need or how much work you would need in order to qualify for SSDI. So it'll take you through that information as well as how you now qualify for SSI. So very little known resource, as well as WISE, which is through our Ticket to Work program. They are currently showing work incentive seminars through their website, and you can enroll and register for one of the WISE seminar events. So again, that is the work incentive seminar event. And if you do go to our work page to register for those, I know the upcoming one is working from home, is the upcoming WISE seminar, working from home with your ticket to work. And they also have an archive section where you can watch past webinars as well.
Great.
So those are probably the two best things.
Okay. And you said,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
The Y, are you referring to YMCA or is there a sub-page of
I said Y.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. WISE, yes. So it stands for Work Incentive Seminar Event.
Got it. Okay. That makes more sense.
And that's on our website, which would be the choosework.ssa.gov.
Okay, excellent. All right. So many adults with drug-resistant epilepsy find themselves at some point having to make a decision regarding whether to pursue employment or apply for Social Security disability benefits. And often they fall into kind of a gray area between disability and ability to work, and the decision's not clear-cut. Can you discuss the pros and cons of pursuing both work and disability benefits at the same time and kind of seeing which one works out?
Yes. So with Social Security disability, as I was stating earlier, under our definition of disability, we have to consider you disabled and unable to work. So while a person may be applying for those benefits, and they are now still currently working, those claims are normally automatically denied because that person is still working and earning over that allowable amount. Then if there is an individual who has already filed and they do want to continue to work and they start to earn over that substantial amount, or well over that substantial amount, then those claims are normally denied as well. So an individual does have to look at, while they are trying to work as well as while they are initially filing that claim. If someone is receiving Social Security benefits and now they want to work, there's quite a bit of resources, of course, for them through our Ticket to Work program, so that they would be able to do that as well without losing out on any benefits they would receive from work as well as Social Security.
Right. So I guess the question would be, I think I know the answer, but the question would be, is there any, for people who are looking for that first job and not sure whether they're going to be successful with employment, they're not currently receiving Social Security disability benefits, and they're not currently employed, and they're just starting out in the world of work, and they're just not sure if they're going to be able to successfully keep a job. There's not any kind of equivalent program to the work incentive program through SSA that people can access at that point in their life to kind of protect them from the risks of having an unsuccessful work attempt.
So if an individual is trying to work for the first time itself, we can't say that's what we still consider an unsuccessful work attempt if that person were to file. So we're still looking at all of those different options. So for an individual who wants to file and they're looking for work or they're trying to work, it's not it won't hinder their disability decision. So there's no con to someone trying to actually work. But at that point, we would then have to look at how long that person was working and what we could consider an unsuccessful work attempt.
Okay. Yep. All right. So how can using Michigan Rehabilitation Services help or hurt one's chances of being approved for Social Security disability benefits? I guess there's a scenario where someone might be kind of doing some of that preliminary work through MRS to try and gauge what types of work would work for them or what wouldn't work or what accommodations might be needed. And in that process, it might be determined like, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to successfully maintain employment even with our supports through MRS. So I guess kind of how does that what role does that play if someone is currently enlisting the services of Michigan Rehabilitation Services, and like how might that affect their chances of approval?
Again, utilizing those services doesn't hurt an individual from filing or being approved from those benefits at all. So we, of course, if someone is utilizing MERS, then we want that person to list that information on their application, because we do request that information as well. So not just because they're working, but that's also another service that they're utilizing to even help them get back to work. So there are quite a bit of programs for someone who is filing or receiving the benefit that we then go through to see, or to help them be able to still qualify to file for that benefit.
Mm-hmm. And is it possible that some of the assessment process that Michigan Rehabilitation Services provides for someone who's exploring work, that those assessments might actually demonstrate that, yeah, indeed, this person is going to have difficulty maintaining employment, and that could therefore help their application?
Yes, that is exactly it, Russ.
Okay. Great. So now let's shift to talking about those who are already receiving disability benefits. What are the work limits for SSI and SSDI? So how many hours per week are you allowed to work, and how much money are you allowed to earn if you're receiving benefits?
Now, under SSI, both programs do have, of course, work rules and work limits. But under SSI, again, since it's needs-based, they do have an actual program or a calculation that they utilize for individuals, and it is based on how much they are earning. So if an individual on SSI is working, and depending on how much they're earning, there is the calculation for SSI goes this way. If your only income is SSI and the money that you make from your job, we don't count the first $85 of your monthly gross earnings. Each month, we reduce your SSI benefits 50 cents for every dollar that you earn over $85. So it's much easier to show than to tell during a conference call, but for the example that I do utilize, so if a person is working and receiving SSI and they earn $1,000 a month, what we do is take the $1,000 they earned, subtract that $85, which is the first amount that we're allowing someone to earn, and that leaves us with $915. We then divide that amount by 2, which is at 50 cents for every dollar, and that amount comes to $457.50. So how that affects SSI, again, it's that tit for tat. We're going to now reduce that SSI payment by that $457.50. So that is how working with SSI goes. So if the amount that you earn is more than what you're eligible for with SSI, then you do not receive SSI for that month because your income was too high. So on SSI, when an individual is working, you can come on and off.
Okay.
Pardon me. But it is a little different, of course, under SSDI. So under SSDI, there is a monthly amount an individual can earn, which is $1,260 gross per month. Now, if an individual does go over that $1,260 gross per month, under SSDI, we have to then look at different things to see if that individual is in a trial work period, or if there are different things that we can write off of that income to bring them below that.
Okay. So can you explain the periodic reviews that take place to determine if a recipient is still eligible? What exactly are they looking for, and how often do those reviews occur?
So Social Security does medical reviews, or what we call a continuing disability review, and those can be done once a year, every 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years. So depending on a person's disability, as well as the severity of their disability. would depend on when that person will be up for that medical review. So again, those can be done once a year, every 3 years, every 5 years, or every 7 years. Under SSI, they can also do a redetermination for those benefits, and that's not the medical reviews. So that's when they're looking at income and resources under the SSI program. And then under both programs, you can have a work decision review as well, where we're looking at if your work has become excessive enough that you can no longer receive those benefits.
Okay. So basically looking at have there been any changes to your disability status, and then also in terms of your medical disability, and then also have there been any changes in terms of your work status that indicate that you now can maintain substantial gainful activity?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a point in those reviews where a third party medical professional may be brought in to do an evaluation or assessment? And can you talk about that if that is something that happens?
Yes, during the medical reviews, we do. It's sort of like the same way when a person files their initial disability application. So we're asking for medical doctors that you've seen or who've treated you, any emergency room visits, anything new that has come up, so new medications, things of that nature. So we would still be sending, that case still goes to the state DDS for that review, so they would also be sending in individuals' documentation to be completed and sent back.
Okay, yeah, I guess I misspoke there. I should have said not third party, but is there a point at which Social Security Administration provides a healthcare professional to do its own review
yes.
as opposed, yeah.
So yes, if an individual does not have, or let's say they have not been treated by any medical professional regarding the conditions that they're filing for. So if I say I have epilepsy, but I have no medical documentation for that information, then Social Security can send me to a medical doctor for them to evaluate.
Okay, but it's not like sometimes happens with insurance companies, for example, where the insurance company can bring in their own doctor to determine whether you're eligible for something. This is not a case where a Social Security Administration doctor is potentially going to overrule a finding from the patient's own doctor.
Unless that finding from that patient's own doctor was probably so ludicrous upon reading that medical documentation when they got it back.
Got it. Okay. So unlikely to happen, but, potential if there's something,
we always want to utilize the information that that the client completes. We want to utilize their doctors, hospitals, like that information to make our medical decision.
Got it. Great. Okay. And does part-time work, even if it's within allowable parameters, jeopardize your benefits when there is a review?
No, not for the medical review, because even if it's part-time work and it's under that amount, that allows an individual to be able to work and maintain their benefits. So it doesn't hurt an individual's medical review. So unless now that we have this medical review, you have the doctors or someone saying, yes, this person can actually work, let's say full-time as opposed to part-time. So if there's new medical information that supports an individual not receiving the benefits, then by all means, it would be that. But no, part-time work does not hurt a person's chances under the medical review.
Okay, great. All right, so now let's discuss the dizzying array of employment supports provided by Social Security Administration to incentivize returning to work. I think when I looked at the website, there was over 20 different supports So we don't have time to go through each of these in detail, but can you provide kind of an overview of the types of supports available?
Yes. So under the Social Security disability programs, we do have a very good resource on our website. It is a pamphlet that's available, and it is called Working While Disabled and How We Can Help. And under that, it gives a very great detailed description of the different work incentives that Social Security offers. Some of the ones that we have mentioned is the Ticket to Work program. You can apply to receive that ticket to work, and it will give you access to different work resources. There is also what we call an expedited reinstatement. So if an individual has tried to work and we have stopped their benefits and now they're unable to work because of those same disabling conditions, we can now expedite their benefits to restart as opposed to them having to wait for that entire time for a new application. There's also that unsuccessful work attempt, which is also what we spoke about earlier, where an individual is filing for those benefits and they still want to try to work and they try to work and cannot, and we can write that information off as unsuccessful. So it's quite a bit of different work incentives that we offer, as well as we take into account an individual's impairments and if they need to utilize or pay for any services or any medications or any modifications in order for them to be able to work while they have their disabling condition. So we take into account all of that information as well. And again, you can find that online on our website. And the name of that publication again is Working While Disabled and How We Can Help.
Okay. And are there, I guess, counselors available through Social Security Administration that can help, or navigators, I guess, who can help people to decide which of these work incentive programs they should access, which ones are most appropriate to their particular situation?
Well, again, there's not to say counselors for Social Security itself, but when you do call Social Security, any of those customer service representatives can assist with information. Okay. I know I keep telling to go to our website, but on our Ticket to Work website, it does have the information, very detailed descriptions of our work incentives itself. So it does give you more information about that, as well as the link to the Social Security Red Book, which is the guide to our work incentives.
Okay. So outside of employment support programs offered by SSA, can you review some other resources that play a key role in supporting efforts to return to work?
Yes, as we were discussing earlier with MERS, as well as you have, I've been working with Detroit at Work, which is a job program through the city of Detroit, which all of these programs are free that I know of. But those are some of the supporting programs that I know which assist people in getting back to work. So, again, we've been working closely with the city of Detroit and their Detroit at Work program since last summer. So that is a new one that I became aware of as of last year.
Okay. And I know just generally one of the biggest concerns for someone who's currently receiving Social Security disability benefits is losing their health care benefits that they get, either Medicare or Medicaid. Can you just talk specifically about how the return to work incentives protect those benefits, or give maybe some examples of how they might protect those benefits?
Yes. So for individuals who are returning to work, also one of our work incentives is what we do, like a protection from an individual going through a medical review for SSDI and SI recipients. So we protect those individuals while they are working and they're falling under those parameters, so that way they do not incur a stoppage in those payments during that time, as well as I'm so sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, I was just referring or asking about how people are able to maintain their Medicaid or Medicare if they're attempting to go back to work and not sure if they're going to be successful. I guess how long can they maintain those health insurance benefits, and through which of those programs offer that protection, I guess.
So with SSDI, an individual would still be eligible for their Medicare up to 36 months after their benefits would stop. And then under that Expedited Reinstatement plan, they would still be eligible to start receiving those Medicare benefits as well. And then under Medicaid with the state, as long as an individual is receiving their SSI benefits, regardless to that amount. So even, let's say, if we reduce someone's benefit to SSI benefits to $1 a month, they would still be eligible for their Medicaid as long as they still have an active SSI case status. So even if an individual is working and we're not paying them for 1 month, but they come back on SSI the next month, the status with us, it's still an active case, so they would still be eligible for their Medicaid unless their income increases over a certain amount, and now they no longer reach that threshold with the state itself and not just us.
Okay. So transition from youth to adulthood is a critical time with many different paths that young adults and parents have to choose between. What specific programs or supports does Social Security Administration provide for this period in life? And what are some recommendations you have for young adults who are maybe struggling to find their path forward?
Now, for Social Security, what we normally work with transitioning youth is individuals who are disabled youth transitioning out of foster care. So that means, they have no one that will be able to assist them with filing their application. But for SSI benefits, an individual who is transitioning out of that foster care system can file SSI applications on their own earlier than them turning age 18. So Social Security is able to assist with that. But other than that portion of it, Social Security is not, unfortunately, able to help with recommending anything additional for young adults.
Okay. So I guess maybe a question would be if someone is on SSI as a child and receiving SSI benefits, are there particular steps that they need to take when they're transitioning or when they become age of adult or become 18?
Yes.
Okay.
So what SSI does is we would then be processing an age 18 redetermination for an individual because, again, the rules for children disabilities are different than adult disabilities. So while, let's say, a child may have ADD and they qualify for benefits as a child, once they turn 18, they may not qualify for the benefits under the adult rules. So that is what SSI provides, is from a child receiving those benefits, what we call an age 18 redetermination. Also, if there are children that are receiving student or child benefits on their parents' Social Security disability record, if those children are not disabled, their benefits would stop once that child turns 18 or they graduate from high school after age 18 up until age 19. But of course, our trustees and actuaries put out reports in regards to Social Security's, the trust fund itself and how long we be benefits. So we are still projecting that we are able to pay all our benefits in full and on time through the year 2035. So if Congress does not make any changes to the Social Security program between now and 2035, at that time Social Security will be able to pay 79% of each benefit due. So although 15 years seems far, that may be the near future to someone else, but that is our projection from our trustees and actuaries.
Okay. And are there any attempts by Congress or members of Congress or any particular groups to try and change, either to extend Social Security benefits or pay into the Social Security program, or to try and cut benefits or cut eligibility? Are there any efforts underway that you're aware of, or is that largely being left alone at this point?
At this point, due to the pandemic, we have not heard any information in regards to any type of cuts or changes to the program itself. At this time, I'm quite sure that once everything kind of dies down, we'll hear about some information on, more than likely, I say, sustaining the program itself.
Okay. All right. So before we open it up for questions, do you have any closing thoughts on this topic that you'd like to share?
Most important, as I stated, Social Security wants everyone to know we definitely want to promote individuals being able to work and or get back to work. So by all means, utilize our website and all those resources that are there right now. I know this is strange times we're going through, but it's quite a bit of information that is available through our website. And all of that information is free. Of course, it's free to file. There is no charge for anything with Social Security itself. So I just want to make sure that I make that very clear.
Okay, great. All right, so we are going to go ahead and open it up for questions and comments. Okay, who would like to get us started with a question or comment?
Hi, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is, my cousin right now, her mom passed away, and she's living in my household, and I'm her guardian, and so she's getting Social Security because her mother passed away. But she does have epilepsy and some other underlying conditions. So she's going to be 18 in September. So and she's going to go to college, trying to figure out would the Social Security disability apply under her dad's, who's still alive, or would it apply under mine because I work as well?
I was going to say it would not be either of you. Now, if she is applying for disability at age 18, it would actually be under her mother if she's stating that she would be a disabled adult child. So her benefits currently would stop at either age 18 or if she graduates after that. They will continue until she graduates up until age 19, but you would have to file an application for her for benefits, which would then be for disabled adult child benefits on her mother's record, and then SSI benefits for herself because she is 18.
Okay, just make sure I'm hearing right. So the SSI will be under hers because she'll be an adult at 18.
Correct.
Okay.
So
So
you can go online and apply for that benefit. Not for her, as she's, turning 18. I have to think of her as an adult at that point. So you can start to complete that application before she turns 18, but you can do that application online, and then when someone does contact you from that online application, they would need to know, or you can call and schedule an appointment with the local office to file for those disabled adult child benefits from her mother's record.
Okay, so it's from her mother's, even though she passed away.
Right. So it would still be survivor benefits, but she would be a survivor as a disabled adult child at that point.
Oh, survivor. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, this is Eileen. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. This is Eileen with Michigan Rehab Services in the Grand Rapids office. And I first of all, I want to say thank you for this. This has been really helpful. I like the format, and you've been very helpful to me. But occasionally we have someone come into Michigan Rehab Services who is who has the assumption that if they have an open case with us, they then their medical review is postponed until they no longer have a case with us. Is that accurate?
I would say yes and no, because they have that open case with you. That's one of those work incentives I was speaking about earlier, that will protect them from that medical review while that case is open because they're trying to work. So that's that protection. So it may be getting lost in translation. So I'll make sure to kind of report that information, that just because an individual may have an open case with you doesn't mean that they're actually working and they need that protection. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think occasionally, yeah. I think some people come in without any hidden agenda or whatever. But I would say, here and there in my 13 plus years with MRS, we've had a few people come in who seem to want to have the case kept open, and it becomes obvious that they think that that's going to postpone or stall out the medical review with Social Security. So not everyone does that, but now and then. So I wanted some clarification on that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And another person had started speaking who also had a question.
Yeah, hi, this is Janet. Thank you so much. This is so informative. I've been on the website before, and it's just nice to have a person kind of put it down into more basic terminology so you can navigate it better. So thank you. My question now, and you might need to just direct me to another person, is if you have an individual who is, let's just say, working part-time but has no health insurance, and you're more concerned about the financial part, but more so about, if they have epilepsy, multiple medications, things like that, and getting some type of coverage for that, just the medical part of it, prescription drugs, things like that. Is there an application process, or what program covers that, if any?
I would always recommend someone to Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for their Medicaid. Because for us, if an individual is not receiving SSI benefits, then they don't get that automatic Medicaid. And
Right.
if they have not worked enough under Social Security disability insurance, then they won't be eligible to receive that Medicare in time as well. So I always refer someone to the state so an individual can file for that Medicaid. Now,
Thank you very much.
I was going to say, Russ may know of other agencies that may provide resources for those medications for epilepsy in particular.
Right. I mean, there are assistance programs for that can help with medications if you're uninsured and things like that. But hopefully, I think the thing to remember is that you can still be eligible for Medicaid, particularly through the Healthy Michigan plan, even if you're not receiving SSI.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, this is Lori. I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm actually listening on behalf of my son, who's going to turn 26 and, of course, age off of our insurance this year. But what I want to know, he is successfully working part-time right now. I'm interested in the ABLE account because he's probably eating up 30 to 40% of what he makes with transportation costs like Uber or Lyft. And if you have an overage on that amount that you mentioned monthly, but you can put that in an ABLE account to take care of, medicine or other things that are related to your disability, is that allowable?
So the ABLE accounts go with the SSI program, and the amount that I was speaking of goes with the SSDI program, that $1,260 a month.
Uh-huh. So, and I guess I'm still
program.
not clear which one I would be looking at for him based on what he's working right now, that he is working right now.
So, right, he's currently working. Is he receiving benefits from us right now?
He is not receiving benefits, so we're just looking at the next couple of years how he's going to live independently and afford somewhere to live and all that, based on a part-time job.
So, I was going to say the ABLE account would probably be your best bet at that, because if you were to file for SSI benefits for him later on, then the ABLE account then enable us to be able to kind of, write that income off for him to be able to still receive those SSI benefits. But if he is also working, even if it is part-time, he may also qualify for SSDI benefits just based on that part-time work.
Okay, so who helps me determine which one of those is the best fit, I guess?
Social Security would. So if you were to schedule that appointment to file, or because he is over 18, you can file for him online. Well, he can file online. With that, we look at his work history and we determine if he's eligible for SSDI, SSI, or both programs.
Okay, thank you.
And can you talk, Taki, a little bit about the ABLE account and just a real quick summary of what that is, just for those who aren't familiar?
Unfortunately, I was going to say those ABLE accounts probably were the bane of our existence when it came all that information coming out. I cannot completely speak to the ABLE account itself. I was going to say that one I don't think I was prepared for. Give me a second. I actually can bring up my talking points for my ABLE account.
That's fine. I know another resource, the Oakland ARC of Oakland County. I know their executive director did a presentation for us on benefits, public benefits, and that was one of the things that he discussed. So it's in one of our Learn and Share conference calls. It's recorded on public benefits for adults with epilepsy, I believe it's called, with Tom Konjorski. So I'm pretty sure we covered ABLE accounts there, but I don't know, were you able to pull something up in the meantime?
I was going to say, yes, it just the information, in Michigan, it just has very brief for SSI and the ABLE accounts. Individuals, who qualify for SSI, their ABLE account balance cannot exceed $100,000. Wow. Okay. It's different, of course, for individuals not receiving the SSI. So, that is
and
just the very brief
for
information I have. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the money has to go for disability-related expenses such as transportation or medication, or that's what I know about it. And I just have one more quick thing. Anthony sees mostly a nurse practitioner. Is that, in terms of this paperwork that eventually, has to go through, is a nurse practitioner acceptable, or does it have to be a neurologist?
No, it will still accept that medical documentation as well.
Okay, great.
Okay. Other questions?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello? Hi. I had a question to piggyback on a question earlier. When a child turns 18 and you can apply for benefits for them, what insurance, medical insurance would they have? Would they have Medicaid or Medicare? Her father still works and she's on his insurance half. But when she turns 26 and if she's allowed to apply for the SSDI benefits from her mom who passed, what insurance would she have, and what would we apply for as far as her? Will we apply for Medicare, or will she be initially rolled over to Medicaid?
Individuals who are eligible for SSI are able to receive Medicaid. But if she's currently receiving benefits from her health insurance benefits from her father, just based on her age, I hate to say it, but it's probably definitely a better insurance for her.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying in the point of when she turns 26, do we, do you apply for the Medicaid? Is she entitled to any benefits for SSDI or SSI?
If she's eligible for SSDI benefits, even as a disabled adult child, that 24 months that she would have to wait for Medicare would still apply to that. So she could be eligible for Medicare based on just her status on her mother's account, on her mother's record at that time. So it depends on, her approval status, if she is approved as a disabled adult child, what she would be eligible for, and we would have to take a look at it at that time. If that is the case, you may be able to keep her health insurance through her father until that, she ages out of that, and then you could reapply for Medicare at that time.
Okay. Thank you so much for the info. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? We've got about 6 minutes left.
Yeah, Russ?
Go ahead.
This is Greg. I heard years ago that if you're on SSI that you can't own anything. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Talk maybe about assets and how that relates to SSI.
So, under SSI, what they're looking for is income and resources. So for an adult individual applying for SSI, your income and resources cannot total more than $2,000 a month. But we are looking at all of those resources, but we're not counting your home that you live in. So if I currently own my home, but I also own another house down the street, the secondary home is now counted as a resource. So while I can own my home and that's not counted against me for SSI, other things would be. So we're looking at that. I can have a car, but if I have a second car, if I have a motorcycle, or if I have anything like that, that is considered a resource because those items can then be sold for income for an individual. So that is what SSI is looking at itself. It's going to be counting, it's not just one and done, so I can't just have my house, my car, and I'm automatically going to be disqualified for it, but we're going to be looking at all of those assets that an individual may have, as well as life insurance policies that people can borrow against, 401ks, anything like that, they're going to be looking at under SSI.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Greg? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Go
Russ?
ahead. Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question? This is Karen.
Sure.
I'm on Social Security between my own and my late husband, and I'm on my late husband's medical insurance. Been trying to get Medicaid. I'm on Medicare also. And I'm being turned down with Medicaid. What can I do?
Unfortunately, because Medicaid is a state-run program, I can't comment on what you would have to do to be able to appeal that decision. Because they have different criteria. It may be because you're still on your late husband's insurance. Because you still have access to a private insurance, that may be their denial reason. So, unfortunately, without me being able to know what the state's Medicaid criteria is, I wouldn't be able to say what you would need to do to get onto that. So that may be their reasoning. I'm assuming it is, not knowing factually, but in all things I always say, appeal that decision. So if you have been recently denied those benefits, I would still appeal the decision, and that way you can kind of see exactly what you would need to do in order to get those Medicaid benefits, or if that was the case, that because you have access to that private insurance, that's the reason why.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. One thing I did just want, since we have a few people from Michigan Rehabilitation Services, just wanted to ask if any of you wanted to comment on, I guess, the role of Michigan Rehabilitation Services in for those who are trying to make that decision of should I try work or should I apply for Social Security disability benefits. Can you talk a little bit about how Michigan Rehabilitation Services might help with that decision?
Yes. Well, one way that we might help with that decision is we work really closely with disability advocates in Kent County, and so one service that we provide would be a referral for benefits counseling from disability advocates who could help our customers weigh and consider what impact working might have on their benefits.
Oh, that's great. And so Disability Advocates of Kent County is part of the Disability Network, which is
part of the independent
regional,
living movement.
Yeah, it used to be the Centers for Independent Living, and
yes.
So if you look for your local Disability Network or Center for Independent Living, they may provide similar benefits counseling. That's good to know. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, I do. This is Karen
go
again. Rehabilitation, back when I was younger, they were the ones that were able to get me a job as a direct care worker, a paramedic, and everything else I've been doing. So to me, they work with the people very well.
Great.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yes, that's good to hear. And I would just add, this is Eileen again with Grand Rapids MRS. I would just add that when people come in and they're not certain if they're able to work and they're not certain if this is a time when they should apply for Social Security or not, we do, as I think was touched on earlier, some assessments. And to help somebody make that decision, they can do a work evaluation for a few weeks. We can do some psych testing and so on to help people figure that out if they come in with a question mark.
Great. That's really helpful to know. And we do have another Learn and Share conference call on Michigan Rehabilitation Services later this year, and I actually don't have it right in front of me, but if you go to our Learn and Share conference calls website, you can see when that's coming up. So we are out of time, so I want to thank you all for participating today, and thank you so much, Takia, for the really great and thorough information on a complicated set of programs. So we really appreciate your time and expertise, and if anyone has any questions after the fact that you think of, feel free to email me those questions, and I can relay that to Takia, and she might be able to assist. So thank you again, and thanks everyone for participating.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.